Greetings. This is Arvette McLean of Speak, The Universe Listens. As a very young person, I always felt that I carried the weight of the world on my shoulders, having to make grown-up decisions in order to survive a life marked with physical, sexual, and emotional abuse. While my face was smiling on the outside, on the inside, I always secretly cried and felt miserable. However, over the years, I learned some gems that helped to turn my life around. I now get to live the life of my dreams, filled with love, travel, and wonderment. And I am absolutely passionate about sharing what I have learned with you. If you want to live your best life, tune in each week as I, along with some amazing guests, share these life-changing gems with you. Inspired to be more, do more, have more.
Greetings and welcome to Speak, the Universe Listens. And today's topic is mastering your thoughts. And I have Scott. Hey, Scott.
Hey, how's everybody?
I'm good. I think everybody else is doing good too.
So I'm already imagining all the faces of the people that have watched us right now, right?
Yes, I know everyone's doing great. So it's good to be here, still on social distancing order or whatever, sitting in my car. So how has your day been, Scott?
Today has been amazing. How about you?
So, yeah, it's been amazing. I've been in a state of amazement and awe and wonderment for a while now. So yeah, it's been good.
Nice. That's a great place to live from. I love it.
Yeah. So mastering your thoughts. What do you have to say about that, Scott?
Woo. That's something that for a lot of us, it takes a lot of work. To get to that place where you can consistently be in control of your thoughts. I can remember when I first started kind of sitting back to meditate sometimes and just how my thoughts would be about everything else. I mean, it's like everything. It's all of yesterday, last week. It's like last year, years before, all those thoughts just come to mind. I'm like, it's not working. So it's like clearly my thoughts was mastering me.
Mm-hmm.
And it just slowly over time, you can start quieting some of those other thoughts, some of that dukkha, you just kind of get it more silent, and it still pops all in there from time to time. At least for me anyway. But those moments when you can get that clarity, and you can begin to start thinking about what it is you choose to experience, whether you choose to experience that feeling of unlimitedness or whatever it may be, there's really no words to put onto it. And so the journey of that practice, that process is just so worth it, as you start maneuvering through all those crazy thoughts that might be popping around inside of our head along the way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think that a lot of times people say things like it is what it is, or the way you feel is the way you feel, or you can't help the way you feel, or that type of thing. Or I think people often just get into a routine, like the way you think what you think is the truth. And so I think I just said a few things just now, but basically, the main thing that I want to say, the point that I want to make is that it isn't just the way it is, isn't just the way it is. The way it is how you think it is. Um, and it's up to us to decide how we're going to think it. And our thoughts have the power to make all kinds of changes like you wouldn't even believe. And so our thoughts seem like they just pop randomly into our head and we just think stuff. And a lot of times we think that the way we think is the right way. And if anyone challenges it, say something totally different than what you're saying, you will find everything possible in your environment and all the people around you who will support what you're saying in order to prove to yourself that it is so. But the thing is, it's a million different ways to think about every single thing. And a lot of times we choose the most limited ways to think about things, to think about ourselves, to think about our environments. It's like we choose to think smaller than what we have to think.
Mm-hmm.
And I think getting into that space of realizing that, okay, the way I've been thinking, there's nothing wrong with the way I've been thinking, but what if I could think something better? What if I could think a better thought? And if how I'm thinking is indeed has anything to do with what's showing up in my life, then maybe I should make a practice of thinking something better.
Right. And, and I think that what happens for us all is that we are living off of our past experiences. Our past experiences begin to shape our thoughts. And so we'll place limitations on what we can expect to receive, what we can expect to experience based off of our past experiences, based off of our past thoughts. And so a lot of times we might say, well, I'd like to experience this, but I can't because I got this limitation, I don't have enough money, I don't have enough time, I don't have enough, whatever it might be. But all of that, creating those limitations are based off of our past experiences. And so we think because of this is where it was in the past, this has to be the way it's going to be in the future. And so we are taking our past to predict our future with it. And that in itself is just a remedy to keep getting more of what we already have. To keep having, being in this particular experience. But if we can begin to say, I don't know how, just to be able to play with it a bit. I don't know how this is going to happen, but it would be nice if it could, and by doing it that way, just starting to play with it, almost like the way a child might do some things, and just to be able to just open your imagination up to any possibility. I don't care how it happens, but if I can get this, if I can have this experience, whoo, that's going to be amazing. And allow the universe to fill in the gaps, to fill in the rest of it that's in there. But just to play around, just to have fun with it, to be a kid with it, just, it's a refreshing way to experience things.
Yeah, definitely it is. It opens up a whole new world because I have always believed that whatever I thought, I could make it happen. So I didn't think I was a limited thinker. And I think I've told this story before, but I had went to this conference and they were saying, what is your dream? And your dream is different than a goal. If you know how to create your dream, then it's not a dream, it's a goal.
Right.
And so I was like, huh? I think I know how to create anything. And so the long and short of the story is, I was like, I don't have any dreams then, because I think I can make anything happen. I think I can figure anything out. And so I was speaking, and someone asked me what were my current dreams or goals or whatever. And so I said, to create or manifest or whatever, $247 million. Now that thought was never in my head before. I never had that thought in my head before. And so I don't know why that came out of my mouth. And so as I was saying it, I was like, what? 240? What? And so I'm like panicking as the words are coming out of my mouth. I'm like, why am I saying this? And so that all night and all the next day, I had my calculator out, like saying, okay, if I did this and I did this, then I can come over 240. I wasn't even getting close to $247 million. And so what it made me realize is I don't know how to come up with $247 million. And so then I was like, okay, so that's going to be my dream. So I made that my dream. But what happened was it made me realize that I always thought I could do anything that I put my mind to. But what I realized was that I was only putting my mind to things that I thought I could do.
Right.
And so once I realized that I was only dreaming from this subset of possibilities, it was a blind spot for me. I didn't realize that there were other things outside.
Mm.
So
Mm.
once I realized that I could dream from the field of all potentials, of all potentialities, and it would be things that I didn't have any idea how to do. It just opened up everything for me. And I realized that my dream had been lurking in the back of my mind all the time. And so once I opened up that door where it was okay for me to have a dream of something that I have no idea how to do, it just leapt out at me. And I was like, oh, that's been there all the time. And now I can give voice to it or whatever. So it was really good. And I'm a little bit off task, but I guess the whole point to that is to open yourself up to think new thoughts.
Right. Right. Yeah. And to think new thoughts with no limitations.
Mm-hmm.
When we talk about mastering your thoughts, I think that was a wordish that you might have said a little earlier here was, um, you know, I've run across this definition of the word mastery before. They say that mastery is when you've made a decision so completely that it's no longer a decision. And I always love that. I mean, like it's no longer you no longer have to think about it. It's just you've made it that energy, you've made it completely. And so to master your thoughts is to be able to get to that place where you are in control of your thoughts, period. Compared to your thoughts just running wild, running rapid. So if you're saying to yourself, I want to, I'm ready to think of what my dream is, to connect with my dream. Instead of your thoughts trying to run you into limited thinking, it allows you now to allow your thoughts to go into your magnitude, to go into something that's bigger than something that you can come up with. And I love that word, just the way you say that, by the way. Just, if it's something that, if it's a goal, if it's something you can figure it out, but if you can't figure out how to reach it, it's a dream. And so to master your thoughts, to take control of your thoughts in a way to say, you know what, I want to be open up. I'm choosing to be open up to new experiences, to something greater than my past, is a strong step in a powerful direction. And compared to just, like I say, just living from your past thoughts, you can just and to play with it. I mean, I think still just when you're taking it to that place of dreaming, again, that's more like a kid-like energy. And when you're operating from kid-like energy, there are no limitations. You're just you can take your thoughts to wherever you want them to be. There's a method called the release technique that I'm not sure if you're familiar with it. The Sedona method is pretty kind of similar to it as well. And in the release technique, they talk about, they ask the question, whose thoughts are they? So if you're having these different thoughts, these limited beliefs or whatever kind of going on, they ask the question, whose thoughts are they? Well, if they are your thoughts, you should have control of your thoughts. And they'll make a decision. And then they kind of lead you to making a decision at that point. So that's a great question to ask, is whose thoughts are they?
And I think a lot of our thoughts, we don't even know that we're having. And I think that's the bulk of our thoughts. We don't even realize that we're having these thoughts, and we don't know why we're having these thoughts. And so that's your unconscious mind. And so a lot of times you're like, well, if it's my unconscious mind, I don't know I'm having these thoughts, then how do I do anything about it? And the truth is, whatever is showing up in your environment, like basically I know what you're thinking because I can see what has shown up in your environment. Mm-hmm. So it's a perfect match every time. Like whatever you're thinking, however you're feeling, that's what's showing up in your environment. And so you don't necessarily have to know. I mean, it's fun to know. It's cool to know what these limiting thoughts are. that we have, and if you can pick some of them out and change them, that's great. I'm not discouraging that, but I don't think it's necessary to know specifically what your limiting thoughts are. You just get into the process of changing it, because if you're like, um this my boss sucks, then what thoughts are you having that causing you to have a sucky boss, or a workplace that you're not loving? And so then we have to change our thoughts in terms of having a better workplace, because you might just have a thought that work is supposed to be hard, or work is supposed to be not fun, or you could have a thought like that. But anyway, the point is just change your thought around whatever it is that's showing up that's not how you would love it. So maybe if your relationships aren't great, you might have some thoughts about it that's underlying, that's kind of causing you to not have great relationships. So one way is you can figure out what that thought is and get rid of it. But the other thing is just to replace those thoughts with something more grand and better, and more that suits you better. And like, I like to play a game called Catch Yourself in the Act. I just made it up. Catch yourself in the act. And so whenever I see myself going into a negative energy, if I'm getting frustrated, that's my main thing, is frustration. I get frustrated over the smallest things. I don't know what that is. Whenever I feel myself getting frustrated, I'll pull myself back and I'm like, hold on, time out. Like, is whatever's going on, is that a big enough deal in the whole scheme of the world, for you to start creating stuff in your life that's going to cause you more frustration? And so I would stop it on a dime, and I'll just change the thought. Because I tend to be silly, I usually change it to something hilarious, and I make it seem like a comedy show, and I'll just take it and I'll just run with whatever the thing is and just make it funny. But however you can change your thought up, if you can, if it's dealing with another person, for example, you might just be like, well, they having a bad day, so let me send them some extra love, or whatever. You can just come up with something better, anything better, and it doesn't even have to make sense, just as long as it's better than the thought that you're having.
It's a lot of times, like you said, it doesn't make sense, but that gives you something extra to laugh about. Just kind of changes your energy completely once you get to that place of laughing.
Yeah. Because the truth is, you made it up anyway. Whatever you're thinking, you made it up. Like, that's not the truth. You made it up. So make up something that serves you better.
Yeah. So even when you're thinking about something about somebody else, you made it up, right?
Exactly.
Yeah. Nice.
Yeah. So, what are some techniques that you use to master your thoughts?
A lot of that, of course, is just being in that place of awareness. And I know we talk about awareness all the time. And so, and you may not necessarily be aware of the specific thought, but you're aware of your energy that you're having. How are you feeling at the time? And so sometimes I might not necessarily know what I'm thinking, but I can tell that, I'm not feeling as strong as I would like to. I'm not feeling as energetic, as happy as I would like to. Sometimes I may notice I'm feeling a little bit more tense or something. And so to just be in that place of awareness about yourself, about what you're feeling. And when you're doing that, when you realize you're in that energy when I'm realizing I'm in that energy that I don't want to be in, I do often stop and take a deep breath first, and that just brings me back into this moment. And then in this moment, I make a decision about what it is that I'm choosing to feel right now. And so sometimes, similarly to you, I'll start having some childish kind of thoughts, some crazy thoughts, just something I can just kind of laugh about. Sometimes I might just stop and just remember the truth of who I am, and remember that I'm created by an unlimited being, which means that I am unlimited myself. And so I connect to that energy and I just spend some time in that energy for a while. And so the phones, I don't need to be concerned with those at the time. I don't have to return text messages right then. I just slide everything to the side. Emails, everything just slid to the side. And I just take some time just to be with myself, just just to adjust my energy before I move on and do anything else. And it doesn't have to take a long period of time. I mean, sometimes it's always great to have more time to sit back and just to be in that higher energy. Yet sometimes I might just take 5 or 10 minutes and along the way in the middle of the day, just to adjust my energy to get back to that place where I want to be, to get back to a place where my energy is rising to a higher level.
Yeah. Yeah, and I also do that too in terms of just readjusting your energy. Um, and one of the things that I do is move my body. So dancing helps me tremendously if I'm just able to dance. And one thing I used to do when I used to be in a not so good place, I would turn the music on and just sing as loud as I could. And that would make me feel better. That would raise my vibration. And then so dancing, singing, and exercising. So
Yeah.
those things for me are extremely helpful in raising my vibration. So even though like you might be thinking what you're thinking, and you sometimes I know for me, sometimes when I'm frustrated, I want to feel frustrated, if that makes any sense. Um, because I know I'm like, okay, I could change this thought right now. But instead, I'll call my husband and tell him what happened. Truth be told, that does raise my vibration because after I'll be like, can you believe such and such and such a thing? And he'll be like, oh. And by the time we go through that, we'll be dying laughing, and then I do get back on track. But sometimes I'm like, I shouldn't even say anything. I just need to change the vibration right now. But sometimes it's like, oh no, he got to hear this. Or one of my girlfriends, you ain't gonna believe what sometimes I play in it a little bit longer than I probably should or whatever. And I know like anger would do that. Like a lot of times when you're mad, you feel like being mad. You ain't trying to but just don't just hang out there. Like you can stay there a couple of minutes or, hours, but don't just hang out there. Like it comes a point in time when you just gotta let it go, because holding on to it is just gonna bring your vibration down, and it's gonna attract more of the same to you. And so one of the questions I have is, what if whatever you were thinking, you are guaranteed to get more of that thing?
Mm. Well, if that's the case, you definitely want to get out of that energy as quickly as possible, right?
Yes. Yeah. So whenever you're having a thought, you just be like, do I want more of this? And if the answer is no, then find a way to change that thought. And I'm not talking about repressing feelings and pretending like things don't, like you're not saying it because you pretending like it's all good and stuff like that. I don't mean that. I mean literally change the thought, change how you're thinking about it, because it really is something that you just made up. However you are perceiving it, everybody would perceive this situation differently. So you can choose to perceive it differently. Think different thoughts about it. And one thing Scott likes to say is, when you see people, see people from the truth of who they are, when you recognize that they're all lights, everybody around you is just a shining light. And sure, they may have veils covering, and the people with the most veils have the most difficult stories, and so in the most difficult, the biggest pains at this time. So if you can be compassionate in that way towards people who seem dark, towards people who seem, gruff and rude and unkind, but at just realizing that at the core, they are shining lights. And so you just changed how you're perceiving situations. We're not saying repress it. Literally change your thoughts. Change your thoughts and practice changing your thoughts so that you can become the master of your thoughts. And when we start becoming a master of our thoughts, we really get to start creating lives that we choose. Because if you believe that your thoughts have anything to do with what shows up in your life, then we know we have to be a better manager of our thoughts.
Right, right. And you know, as you were talking about, you know, when you're seeing somebody else, you know, sometimes people might come at us attacking us. They all loud and their arms are flailing around. You know, that the way that I personally look at that, and I think I've shared this with you before as well, is that I do think about a little baby. And so when a baby is hungry or needs something, of course, he's screaming at the top of his lungs, and his arms are flying around, his legs are kicking around, and we do tend to look at the baby and say, "Oh, what do you need? You know, what can I get for you? You're hungry. You need diapers." You know, we start thinking, what do you need? And adults do the same thing. You know, so when they're in that place where they're feeling like they're lacking something, they scream at the top of their lungs and their arms flail around. They might be trying to kick. They might be doing some of that type of stuff. They might appear to be attacking you. But if you can change your thought from them being an attacker on you to them being someone that is now asking for love, they're asking for help, and you can internalize it that way. It's now nothing to repress, but now it's just something that, and you can all, you know, for me, I can almost start just laughing because I'm seeing them as this little baby. And, you know, and so it becomes easier to change my energy around it from seeing it from that perspective.
Yeah, so I think we could talk all day about changing your thoughts and becoming a master of your thoughts. But some of the key points that have been shared today is to really start, I guess, expanding your thoughts. Don't get so caught up into the same old, and to believe that everything that you're thinking is the truth. So one, don't think that it's the truth, that it's multiple millions of ways to think about the same thing that you're thinking about. And two, that there's millions of thoughts to be had. So we can always think bigger thoughts, we can think better thoughts. And then some of the ways that have been listed to help master the thoughts include catching yourself in the act, include meditation, include just in general, just raising your vibration and just realizing that everyone around us is the light. Everyone around us is also connected to the same source that we're connected to. We're not separate from them. We're all a part of the same whole. And if we start looking at the world like that and looking at the people around us like that, it will literally increase the quality of our lives.
Well said. Love it.
All right. All right. So it's great talking to you, Scott, as always. And thank you, everybody, for joining us. I hope you enjoyed this episode of Mastering Your Thoughts. Until next time, see ya.